program that is being organized in our department, and today is the last day of this program. On behalf of Maths Department, I welcome Professor Kokilavani, Anna University, for delivering a lecture on Fourier transforms and its applications. Before that, I will say a few words about our program. Due to this pandemic situation, all the universities and colleges are closed. As per the request given by our management, we are organizing two programs. One is for the development of faculty members, and another one is for the benefit of our own research scholars. So we planned to conduct a program on faculty development program on application of mathematics in engineering and technology from 6th July to 16th July. And the program is organized in a nice manner. Today is the last day, and we have two sections today. Morning, Professor Kokilavani will deliver the lecture. Afternoon, Prashant Sivaswamy will be giving the lecture. And from tomorrow onwards, we will have research development program from 17th to 28th. The purpose of organizing such programs are to make our faculty members aware of the latest mathematical techniques available in core areas of mathematics, and also to make aware of to give an exposure about various online tools available for teaching online courses. I also request Professor Kokilavani Madam to share her experience regarding online teaching in the last semester. Also, what is the university's plan, Anna University's plan for the next semester regarding online teaching. So in this regard, I request Professor Venkatesan to introduce the chief guest to the speaker, to introduce the speaker to the.
I'm happy to introduce my supervisor and today's speaker, Dr. D. Kokilavani, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, College of Engineering, Gindi, Anna University, Chennai. Madam received her MSc degree in Pondicherry University, PhD degree in Annamalai University. She has 14 publications in international journals. She has guided one PhD scholar and one is ongoing. Her current area of interest is fuzzy analysis, fuzzy automata, linear algebra, algebraic graph theory. She has delivered 5 invited talks. She has also lifetime membership in the Indian Society of Technical Education and International Association of Engineers. With this, over to HOD, sir.
Thank you for giving a nice introduction about the speaker, Dr. Venkatesan. I request Madam to come forward to give a talk, and I am on behalf of Department of Mathematics, I welcome Madam, and also I am very grateful and thankful to Madam for spending her valuable time in giving this lecture. I request Madam to share her views about online teaching and give some tips to our faculty members so that it will be very useful for them in the forthcoming semester. Yes, Madam, please. You are most welcome to give a talk. Please, Madam.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction and for having invited me for this FDP. Sir, I will share the screen.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, Madam, please.
Yes. So, I'm going to talk about the topic Fourier transform and its application. Let me begin my lecture by starting from Fourier series and then make a transition to Fourier transform. Before I begin my lecture, I would like to say a few words about the great mathematician Joseph Fourier, and his contributions to mathematics, which finds far-reaching applications in diverse fields today. He was a French mathematician and physicist best known for initiating the investigation of Fourier series and their applications to problems of heat transfer and vibrations. The Fourier transform and Fourier's law are also named in his honor. Fourier is also generally credited with the discovery of greenhouse effect. The first question that rises in the mind of the student is, what is the need for Fourier series? I hope a great deal of lectures were dealt with PDEs and its application in earlier lectures. With that assumption, to obtain a solution to particular boundary value problem, one needs to expand a function into trigonometric series. Fourier series comes as an answer to solve the boundary value problems. Also, since each term of the trigonometric series is periodic, it is clear that if we are to expand function in such series, the function also need to be periodic. So let us turn our attention to periodic function. Scroll up. So let's see the definition of periodic function. A function f of x is said to be periodic with period p if for all x f of x plus p equal to f of x, where p is a positive constant. Where p is a positive constant as well as which is called as the fundamental period of f of x. And we can say that every integer multiple of the fundamental period is also a period. That is f of x plus np, which is equal to f of x, where n is an integer. Example for a periodic function: cos x, sin x are periodic with period 2 pi, and tan x is periodic with period pi. So let's see the graph of the function. So this is the graph of the cosine function. So this the period for the cosine function is 2 pi. So this is the pattern. So this pattern will be repeated for every 2 pi period. And similarly for sin x, this is the graph. So this is the pattern. The period for sin x is 2 pi. Therefore, this pattern will be repeated for every 2 pi period. Similarly for tan x, so this is the graph whose period is pi. Therefore, for every pi period, the same pattern is repeated. So we can also talk about the period for the function sin nx and cos nx. So the period is 2 pi by n. So let's see. Let's ask a question: that is a constant function periodic? Yes, it is so. And whose period is any positive number? And we can say that a periodic function need not be continuous. For example, take the function f of x, which is defined from 0 to 5 as 3 and from minus 5 to 0 as minus 3. So the graph of f of x.
Ma'am, 1 minute. Sorry for interrupting. And the screen வந்து நிறைய பேருக்கு தெரியல, அந்த ஆடியன்ஸ்க்கு கொஞ்சம் பெருசாக்க முடியுமா? ஜூம் பண்ணீங்கன்னா வரும் நினைக்கிறேன் மேம்.
டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிட்டு அப்புறமா இது பண்ணீங்கன்னா வரும் மேம்.
டவுன்லோட் பண்ணுமா?
டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிக்கணும் நீங்க.
இல்ல அதுலயே கூட நீங்க கண்ட்ரோல் பிளஸ் கொடுங்க மேம். அதுலயே ஜூம் பண்ணா கூட ஓகே, நோ ப்ராப்ளம். கண்ட்ரோல் பிளஸ் கண்ட்ரோல் பிளஸ்
கொடுத்துட்டேன். கண்ட்ரோல் பிளஸ் கொடுத்துட்டேன். இது ஓகேனா?
கண்ட்ரோல் எல் ட்ரை பண்ணுங்க மேம். லார்ஜ் அண்ட் ஃபுல் ஸ்கிரீன்.
கண்ட்ரோல் எல்
Control
அதனால browserல இருக்கதால control L ஒர்க் ஆகாது.
ஓஹோ.
browserல தானே மேம் இருக்கு உங்க பிபிடி?
ஆமா ஆமா.
அத வேணா நீங்க சார் வெங்கடேசன் சார் சொன்ன மாதிரி டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிடுங்க. டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா கண்ட்ரோல் எல் கொடுத்து ஃபுல் ஸ்கிரீன் கொண்டு வந்துடலாம். அப்ப எல்லாருக்கும் விசிபிளா இருக்கும். ஏன்னா இது விசிபிளா இல்ல யாருக்கும். அதுதான் வேற எதுவும் இல்லை. தே ஆர் சேட்டிங். அந்த சேட் பாக்ஸ்ல போட்டிருக்காங்க நாட் விசிபிள்.
Let me do that. Madam. Madam. Okay. Is it okay now?
Okay.
Is this okay?
This is okay, madam.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
அந்த கீழ ஒரு ஐஸ்கிரீம் கப் மாதிரி இருக்கும். அதை கிளிக் பண்ணுங்களேன், ஃபில் ஆயிடும். பிரசன்டேஷன் வரும். இந்த ரைட் சைடுல ஐஸ்கிரீம் கப் வந்து இருக்கும் பாருங்க. ரைட்.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the first example I'm taking. So here the function is discontinuous. Let's see the graph of the function. So from minus 5 to 0, this is the graph, and from 0 to 5, this is the graph. But here we have a point of discontinuity, and similarly, the similar pattern is repeated for every 10 period. So from minus 5 to 5, the period for this function is 10. So this is the discontinuous function because we have the point of discontinuity as 0 plus or minus 5, 10 and so on. Now consider another example. So this is f of x equal to sin 2x, which is defined between 0 and 5, and we can expand this in terms of trigonometric series. So the graph of the function is this. Okay, so since we have sin 2x here, so whatever happens in pi, so that will happen here in pi by 2 itself. So this is the graph. Here the function is everywhere continuous. So this is another example. The next example, f of x equal to sin x, which is defined from 0 to pi, and 0, which is from pi to 2 pi. Here the function is defined in two parts, but even then the function is continuous because we have here the less than or equal to symbol. So still from 0 to pi it is continuous, and again after pi it is immediately started, and whose value is 0. So the graph for this function is this is till 0 to pi it is sin x, and 0 from pi to 2 pi. So the entire period for this function is 2 pi. Even though the function has split up, we have a continuous function here. So the previous one and this one both are continuous functions, and the first one is discontinuous function. Okay, so the periodic function need not be continuous; it may be piecewise continuous. Okay. Next, let's see the sum of the two periodic functions. Is the sum of the two periodic functions continuous? So let's try the example, sin x plus cos x, and we can draw the graph for this function sin x plus cos x. This is the graph. The period for this graph is, because sin x has the period 2 pi and cos x has the period 2 pi. Therefore, the LCM of both the functions period is nothing but 2 pi. Therefore, this function sin x plus cos x, both are periodic functions. So sum is also periodic because it has the period 2 pi. And another example, this is cos x plus half cos 2x plus half cos 3x. This is also a periodic function because cos x is a periodic function with period 2 pi, and cos 2x, which is also a periodic function, which is 2 pi by 2, and cos 3x, which is also a periodic function. Therefore, the LCM of all the periods, so that is nothing but this 2 pi. So 2 pi is the period for this function. So this is sum of 3 periodic functions. Okay. Now let's see the odd and even functions, because we are going to see the Fourier sine and cosine transforms. Therefore, in getting the Fourier transform definition itself, we have to talk about the odd and even functions. So let's see the odd function. A function f of x is said to be odd, then f of minus x equal to f of x. We all know that it is a symmetric function, so it is symmetrical about the y-axis. Okay, so even functions are always symmetrical about the y-axis. And the next function, odd function. So odd function is the one where f of minus x equal to minus f of x, which is antisymmetrical. Okay, so which is symmetrical about origin. You can rather say symmetrical about origin. So we can see the graph of the even function here and graph of the odd function. Okay, and let's see the sum of even and odd function is neither even nor odd. This is even and odd, sum of even and odd function. Okay, so this is neither even nor odd because it is not symmetrical about y-axis or symmetrical about origin. Therefore, it is neither even nor odd. Any function f of x can be split into odd and even parts. So even part is nothing but the mean of the function and its reflection in the vertical axis. And similarly, the odd part is nothing but the mean of the function and its negative reflection. So the even part and odd parts are these. The graph of this function is, so this is f of x and this is f of minus x. So even part is nothing but the mean of these two. And similarly, this is f of x and this is minus f of negative reflection. Therefore, the odd part is nothing but the mean of these two. So the dissociation into odd and even parts changes with changing the origin of x. So sometimes we have to expand cos x in terms of fully even function by a shift of origin. Now let's move on to Fourier transform. Joseph Fourier, a French mathematician, had invented a method called Fourier transform in 1801 to explain the flow of heat around the anchor ring. Since then, it has become a powerful tool in engineering, science and engineering. It can provide a means of solving word equations that describe dynamic response to electricity, heat, or light. Fourier analysis was originally concerned with representing and analyzing period phenomena via Fourier series, and later with extending those insights to non-periodic phenomena via Fourier transform. One way of looking at a non-periodic function is to consider a periodic function and let the period tend to infinity. So first, let's see the Fourier integral representation. So for that, first of all, the function f should satisfies the Dirichlet condition in the interval minus L and L, and provided f of x is periodic, piecewise continuous, and has a finite number of relative maxima and minima in the interval. And we have to assume that f of x be periodic with the period 2L and satisfy the Dirichlet condition in minus L and L, between minus L and L. Then f of x has a Fourier series representation for every x in the form f of x equal to a naught by 2 plus summation an cosine plus bn sine function, where an equal to a naught is nothing but integral 1 by L integral minus L to L f of t dt, and an is integral minus L to L f of t cos n pi t by L dt, where n is ranging from 0, 1, 2 and so on. Similarly, bn, so these a naught, an and bn are Euler coefficients or Fourier coefficients. So this is also defined in this way: 1 by L minus L to L f of t sin n pi t by L dt, where n is varying from 1, 2 and so on. So substituting this an and bn in f of x yields this definition, this form for f of x. So f of x is written in the integral form. So we can make use of the trigonometric formula for cos A cos B plus sin A sin B. So that gives you cos A minus B. So interchanging the order of summation and integration, we can get this function. So 1 by 2L minus L to L f of t dt and 1 by L f of t cos n pi t minus x by L dt. So now we have to assume that the function to be absolutely integrable. Okay. So I'm allowing the limit L tending to infinity, because we are going to see the Fourier transform. So we have to allow the limit L to, so we have to extend our limit from minus L to L to minus infinity to infinity. That is why we are taking the limit. So f of x becomes limit L tends to infinity 1 by 2L integral f of t dt plus limit L tends to infinity minus infinity to infinity integral f of t summation cos n pi t minus x by L dt. And now let del s be pi by L and allow L tends to infinity. That would give us del s tends to 0. Therefore, f of x equal to limit del s tends to 0, 1 by pi integral minus pi by del s to pi by del s f of t cos n summation cos n del s t minus x del s dt, and which is nothing but integral f of t. Here we can notice minus infinity to infinity f of t and 0 to infinity integral 0 to infinity cos s t minus x ds dt. So this is nothing but the Fourier integral representation of f of x. So since this cos s into t minus x is this function is even, since this function is even function, so the equation can be f of t into, that is 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity. So this 0 to infinity becomes minus infinity to infinity. So cos s t minus x, this is possible when the function is even. Also, since sin x is an odd function of s, then we can have 0 equal to sine, because minus infinity into infinity sine function, so which becomes 0. That is why we can write 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity f of t and integral sine s t minus x dt ds dt, which is equal to 0. And we can have a complex form of Fourier integral right now. So by adding these two along with I, so we can have this right hand side for the function f of x, that is nothing but 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity e power isx ds integral minus infinity to infinity f of t e power isd. I split the exponential function here. Okay. Now, if we take f of s as integral minus infinity to infinity f of t e power isd dt, then we can have our f of x as 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity f of s e power minus isx ds. So the above two expressions, one is the first one is nothing but the Fourier transform of f of x, and the second one is nothing but the inverse Fourier transform of f of x. Okay, and in the front of both the Fourier transform and the inverse Fourier transform, we have 1 and 1 by 2 pi. So we can have the product of these two as 1 by 2 pi. So we can have the coefficient in front of the integration. Now, let's find the Fourier transform of f of x defined by the function 1 when mod x less than or equal to a, 0 mod x greater than a. So, whose Fourier transform is this 2 sin as by s, where s greater than 0, 2a when s equal to 0. So, for a specific value of a, that is rather if we take a equal to 3, the Fourier transform pair is given by f of x equal to 1 when mod x less than or equal to 3, 0 when mod x greater than 3, and our Fourier transform is like this 2 sin 3s by s when s is positive and 6 when s equal to 0, which can be visualized as, so this is the function f of x. Okay, so for mod x less than or equal to 3, it is 1. Okay, from minus 3 to 3, it is 1, and remaining and all, it is taking the value 0. So here the Fourier transform, see here, so this is the function when s greater than 0 and s equal to 0. Now let's move on to Fourier cosine and sine transforms. Okay, so this is the Fourier cosine transform f of x equal to 2 by pi cos sx ds integral 0 to infinity f of t cos st dt. We can get this from the Fourier integral representation. This is the Fourier cosine integral representation, and similarly, this is the Fourier integral representation. We can have a Fourier cosine integral representation for this fc of s, which is equal to square root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity f of x cos sx dx, and f of x equal to square root of 2 by pi integral fc of s cos sx dx. So this is nothing but the inverse Fourier cosine transform, and the earlier one is the Fourier cosine transform. Now let's see the Fourier sine integral. So this is the Fourier sine integral, and this is the Fourier sine transform. So square root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity f of x sine sx dx, and f of x equal to, whose inverse Fourier sine transform is this square root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity fs of s sine sx ds. So next, let's see the properties of Fourier transform. So finding Fourier transform of some complicated functions are very difficult. So if we find the Fourier transform of elementary functions, then if we apply the properties of Fourier transform, then we can find out the Fourier transform of the complex function will be made easy. So these are the functions and the respective Fourier transforms. So starting from exponential function, sine. Let's see the first property, linearity property. That is the Fourier transform of the sum of two functions, which is equal to sum of the two Fourier transforms. This is what the linearity property. So let's have the linearity property through the graphs. So this is our f of x, and this is our f of s. Okay, this is g of x and g of s. This is the function and its Fourier transform, and this is the function and its Fourier transform, and this is the sum of the two functions. Okay, so f plus g is the graph is f plus g, and this is what the sum of the two Fourier transforms. Okay. So we can have the in front of g of x or f of x, we can have a here, where a is any constant, so that we can have here a times, if we have, if we take a in front of this function, then we can have a times f of s. So next, we are going to see scaling property. If f of s is the Fourier transform of f of x, then f of ax, which is nothing but 1 over a f of s by a. So this is what the change of scale property or scaling property. And let's have the graph for this. So this is our function, and this is that is here a is equal to 1 by 4. Okay, a is equal to 1 by 4. So this horizontal compression here, which is compressed into this, and again we can have the vertical elongation. Similarly, for this function, so this is turned into this. For this function, this is taken. So, if f of x, in more general version or symmetrical version of the theorem is, if f of x has the Fourier transform f of s, then mod a power 1 by 2 f of ax has the Fourier transform mod b power 1 by 2 f of bs, where b is equal to a inverse. So each function expands or contracts, it also shrinks or grows vertically to compensate. So a symmetrical version of this theorem. Shifting property. So if f of s is the Fourier transform of f of x, then f of x minus a, which is equal to the exponential function, that is e power isa into f of s. Okay, so if we have f of x minus a, then we will be having e power isa f of x. Okay, here f of s is the Fourier transform of the function f of x. Okay, we are finding the Fourier transform of the function f of x minus a here. So that is nothing but e power isa f of s. Okay, so if a given function is shifted to the positive direction by an amount a, so no Fourier component changes in amplitude, it is therefore to be expected that the change in its Fourier transform will be confined to phase changes. So this is the graph. So shifting f of x by 1/4 unit of x subjects f of s to a uniform twist of 90 degrees per unit of place. So the function f of x is shown here, and whose Fourier transform is real, and a shifted function f of x minus 4, this is the f of x, and f of x minus 4 is this, and which has the transform which is derived by subjecting f of s to a uniform twist of pi by 2, okay, uniform twist of pi by 2 per unit of s. So the plane consisting of f of s has been deformed into a helicoid. Next, let's see modulation theorem. If f of s is the Fourier transform of f of x, then f of x cos ax, which is equal to half of f of s minus a plus f of s plus a. So this is f of x, this is f of s, So f of x into cos 2 pi x. So this is f of x. F of x into cos 4 pi x. This is f of s. And f of x into cos pi x by 4. This is our f of s. So next example, find the Fourier transform, determine the Fourier transform of e power minus x, and hence determine the Fourier transform of the following functions. F of x equal to e power minus ax square, where a greater than 0, and f of x equal to e power minus 4, x minus 3, the whole square. And again, the third function, e power minus x square with the cos 2x. So by the properties, we can able to get the solution. So f of s, we know that f of s, which is integral e power minus x square, e power minus isx dx. So we can go for the completion of squares here, so that we can get x minus is by 2 the whole square plus s square by 4 dx, and we can have exponential function with s square by 4 into, which is in the front, and integral minus infinity to infinity exponential function with x minus is by 2 the whole square as exponent. Then take this x minus is by 2 as z. Okay, then dx is dz. Then we can have this Fourier transform, which is equal to this into exponential of minus z square dz 2 times exponential s square by 4, and exponential function with the minus z square dz, and which is equal to 2 times exponential function with the s square by 4, which is the gamma function, because we have here the gamma function, that is why whose value is gamma half. So it is nothing but square root of pi into exponential of minus s square by 4 by taking this and this into account. So we'll have this. Now, using the property f of the change of scale property, so the Fourier transform of the function with ax, which is equal to 1 over a f of s by a. So it can be obtained e power minus ax square, which is equal to square root of pi by a exponential of s square by 4a. Okay, so by the property, we can have this. Similarly, using the scaling and shifting property, because we have here, along with x, we have minus 3 here. So we can have the shifting property. We can use the shifting property here. So we know that except that shifting x minus 3, if we have x here, then we have the formula. That is previously we have got this. So square root of pi by 2 e power 3 is. This is for this shift. So 3 is e power minus s square by 4. So from the modulation theorem, we can answer for the next function. So Fourier transform of the function e power minus x square cos 2x, which is nothing but square root of pi by 2 into the sum of two exponential functions. Okay, so by the property modulation theorem, we can able to get the Fourier transform of this function. So here we know the cosine transform and e power minus x square. Okay, so that we can immediately answer the question as this. Now let us see the properties of Fourier cosine and sine transforms. So as in the case of Fourier transform, here we can have the linearity property, that is For cosine transform, Fourier cosine transform, we have the linearity property, okay, as similar to that of the Fourier transform. So a times f of x plus b times g of x, which is nothing but a times the Fourier cosine transform plus b times the Fourier cosine transform. Similarly, the Fourier sine transform. Exchange of scale property. So if fc of s is the Fourier cosine transform of f of x, then fc of f of ax, which is equal to 1 by a fc of s by a, where a not equal to 0. Similarly, fs of f of ax, which is equal to 1 by a fs of s by a, where a not equal to 0. And let's see the property. The Fourier cosine transform of f dash of x, which is equal to minus square root of 2 by pi f of 0 plus s times fs of f of x. So this will be useful in solving the boundary value problem. Similarly, fs of f dash of x, which is equal to minus s times fc of f of x. And the next property, fc of x f of x, which is equal to dfs of f of x by ds. Similarly, the Fourier sine transform of x f of x, when we have x here, then we will be getting d by ds of the Fourier sine transform. Similarly here, when we have x multiplied with the function f of x, then Fourier sine transform of x f of x is minus d by ds of fc of f of x. So next property. So we can prove all the properties from definition of Fourier transform as well as Fourier cosine and sine transforms. So the proof is straightforward. The next property, if fc of s and fs of s is Fourier cosine and sine transform of f of x, then the modulation theorem, that is fc of f of x sine ax, which is nothing but half of the Fourier sine transform of s plus a minus f Fourier sine transform of s minus a. Similarly, if we have a Fourier sine transform, we want Fourier sine transform of f of x cos ax, which is nothing but half times Fourier sine transform of f of s plus a and Fourier sine transform of s minus a. Similarly, Fourier sine transform of f of x sin ax, which is 1 over 2 Fourier cosine transform of s minus a and Fourier cosine transform of s plus a. If next property, so if fc the Fourier cosine transform of f of x and gc of g of x be Fourier cosine and cosine transforms of f of x and g of x respectively, then we can have this property, fc of integral 0 to infinity fc of f of x and gc of g of x dx, which is nothing but 0 to infinity f of x into g of x dx. And the next property, fs of f of x and gs of g of x, the Fourier sine transform of f of x and g of x respectively, then the integral of the Fourier sine transform of f of x and the Fourier sine transform of g of x, which is nothing but the integral of f of x, the original functions, f of x inverse Fourier sine transforms, product of the inverse Fourier sine transforms f of x and g of x. Now let's see the convolution theorem. So the convolution of two functions f of x and g of x is defined as h of x, which is nothing but f star g of x. Here this is nothing but the convolution product, which is defined as integral minus infinity to infinity f of u g of x minus u du. So we can have the function f of x here, g of x here. So this is g of x minus u, and this is nothing but f of u into g of x minus u. So the convolution product is nothing but the area under the curve, f of u e of x minus u. Okay, the convolution product is nothing but the area under the curve. So this is the graph. Okay. Now let us move on to the convolution theorem. So after seeing convolution product, let's move on to the convolution theorem. If f of s and g of s are Fourier transforms of f of x and g of x respectively, then f of f star of x, f star g of x, which is nothing but f of s into g of s. That is the Fourier transform of the convolution of two functions, which is nothing but the product, the ordinary product of the two Fourier transforms, the respective two Fourier transforms. Fourier transform of the convolution of two functions, which is nothing but the product of the respective two Fourier transforms of the function. For example, verify the convolution theorem for the function f of x equal to g of x equal to e power minus x. So the Fourier transform of f of x is nothing but this, because we know that the definition for the Fourier transform, and here our function is e power minus x. So we can have this as the Fourier transform. So the convolution product, so f star g of x, which is nothing but the product of two exponential functions, and which is nothing but e power minus x, so x e power minus x. And the Fourier transform of the same is f of f star g of x, which is equal to 0 to infinity x e power minus x e power isx dx, which is equal to 1 by 1 minus is the whole square, because we have here the Fourier transform for the function f of x as well as g of x. Okay, that is why we have here 1 by 1 minus is the whole square. So we have got the Fourier transform of the convolution of two functions, so which is equal to the product of two Fourier transforms. So next, verify the convolution theorem for the function e power minus x square. So we can also verify this function. Okay. Next, we'll move on to partials identity. If f of s is the Fourier transform of the given function f of x defined in minus infinity to infinity, then integral minus infinity to infinity modulus f of x square dx, which is nothing but integral minus infinity to infinity mod f of s square dx. So from the convolution theorem, we can have this f of the Fourier transform of the convolution product, which is nothing but the Fourier product of two Fourier transforms. Then the convolution alone is nothing but f inverse of this. Therefore, 1 over 2 square root of 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity f of t d of x minus t dt, which is nothing but this 1 over 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity f of s d of s e power minus isx dx. Now put x equal to 0, we'll get this, and g of minus t, which is nothing but f of t, this part, this is nothing but the conjugate. Okay. So g of t is nothing but f of minus t the whole part. Then by the property of Fourier transform, f of g of t, which is nothing but f of minus t bar, and g of s is nothing but f of s bar. Hence, we can have here f of t into f of t bar dt, and f of s bar ds. So it is mod x square and mod f of s square. Okay, therefore we've got the partials identity here. Similarly, we can have the partials identity for Fourier cosine and sine transform. So if both are defined in 0 to infinity, because this is one-sided, therefore we can have the same theorem here. So it is from 0 to infinity mod f of x square dx, which is nothing but 0 to integral 0 to infinity mod fs of s the whole square dx. So the second one is this is a Fourier sine transform. This is for Fourier cosine transform. So similar way you can have the theorem. So next we are going to see Fourier transform of partial derivatives. Since we are going to see the boundary value problem, so let's see the Fourier transform of partial derivatives. So first, let us take the function of two variables, u of x comma t with respect to the variable x, which is defined as f of u of x comma t where x tending to alpha, which is equal to 1 over square root of 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity e power I ax u of, that is by the Fourier transform definition, we can have this. So which is denoted as u of alpha comma t, because we'll be getting the function in terms of alpha and t. That is why we have here u of alpha comma t. Then the Fourier transform of dou u by dou x. So which is nothing but the Fourier transform of dou u of x comma t by dou x, okay, x tending to a, which is nothing but x tending to alpha 1 over square root of 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity dou u by dou x e power I alpha x dx. That is just we are applying the Fourier transform definition for this thing. So now we can go for integration by parts. So we'll get this. This is minus infinity to infinity, it is missing. So 1 over square root of 2 pi u of x comma t e power I alpha x from minus infinity to infinity minus I alpha integral minus infinity to infinity u of x comma t e power I alpha x dx. Okay, so this is got by integration by parts. This integration. Okay, 1 over 2 square root of 2 pi is in front. Okay, now we assume, if we assume limit extending to plus or minus infinity u of x comma t equal to 0, then we find that f of dou u by dou x, which is nothing but, because this will go off, okay, this will go off. So integral, the Fourier transform of this is equal to minus I alpha f of u of x comma t, so which is nothing but again f of u of x comma t extending to alpha, which is nothing but I alpha u of alpha comma t. Similarly, the Fourier transform of those the second order partial derivative. So Fourier transform of the second order partial derivative is 1 over square root of 2 pi dou square u by dou x square integral minus infinity to infinity dou square u by dou x square e power I alpha x dx. So which is nothing but 1 over square root of 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity e power I alpha x d of dou u by dou x. Okay, we can write like this, and then again by integration by parts. So we can have this 1 over 2 pi square root of 2 pi dou u by dou x e power I alpha x from minus infinity to infinity minus I alpha e power I alpha x u minus infinity to infinity plus I alpha the whole square minus infinity to infinity I alpha x, because we know already what is the Fourier transform of dou u by dou x. So by using that we have here, and assuming both u and dou u by dou x tends to 0 as x tending to plus or minus infinity, we have f of dou square u of x comma t by dou x square where x tending to a, which is nothing but minus 1 the whole square I alpha whole square f of u of x comma t extending to alpha, which is nothing but minus 1 the whole square I alpha square u of alpha comma t. So this is the Fourier transform of dou square u by dou x square. Now let's move on to finding the Fourier transform of dou u by dou t. The Fourier transform of the first order partial derivative with respect to t, that is nothing but 1 over square root of 2 pi minus infinity to infinity dou u by dou x dou t of into e power I alpha x dx. So again we can write in this form. So dou by dou t of okay, because the integration is with respect to x, so this is independent of x. Therefore, I can put in front dou by dou t minus infinity to infinity u of x comma t e power I alpha t dx. Then this is nothing but u t of alpha comma t. Therefore, the Fourier transform of the first order partial derivative with respect to t is u t of alpha comma t. Okay. Now let's see the application. Solution to diffusion equation. So consider the problem of flow of heat in an infinite medium minus infinity to infinity, where x is ranging from minus infinity to infinity, when the initial temperature distribution is f of x, which is known, and no heat sources are present. Mathematically, we can solve the problem like this. Solve the heat conduction equation given by k times dou square u by dou x square, which is equal to dou u by dou t. So x lies between minus infinity and infinity, t greater than 0. And subject to the boundary conditions, u of x comma t and ux of x comma t both tending to 0 as mod x tends to infinity. And initial condition u of x comma 0, which is equal to f of x from minus infinity to infinity. Okay. Solution. So first we'll take the Fourier transform on both sides of this equation. Okay, this is the equation given to us. So let's take the Fourier transform. We already know that we have already seen that what is the Fourier transform of the second order partial derivative with respect to x. So we can straight away give that here. Okay, in the place of dou square u by dou x square, where k is in front. So this is what the left hand side of the equation, and this is the right hand side dou u by dou t. So that we have seen just now. So f of u t of x comma t, which is where x is extending to alpha, or u t of alpha comma t, we can write the same equation as u t of alpha comma t plus k alpha square u of alpha comma t equal to 0. And now let's move on to the boundary conditions. That is, we have already used the boundary conditions here in getting this. Okay, so we will move on to the initial condition. So this is the initial condition. So u of alpha comma 0 equal to f of alpha, where alpha is between minus infinity and infinity. So the solution of the equation when solved for t is d plus k alpha square u of alpha t equal to 0. Okay, the solution of equation number 3. This is equation number 3. Okay, u t of alpha comma t plus k alpha square u of alpha comma t equal to 0. So the solution of that is that is the first order equation, so we can solve it easily. So m equal to minus k alpha square. Therefore, u of alpha comma t a times e power minus k alpha square t. So this is the solution for that equation. When t equal to 0, from equation 4, the relation u is equal to f of alpha, implying A is equal to f of alpha. Therefore, u of alpha comma t, which is equal to f of alpha e power minus k alpha square t. Now, inverting this relation, we can get u of x comma t. So this is the Fourier transform. So we'll get the inverse Fourier transform. So u of x comma t, which is nothing but 1 over 2 pi square root of 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity f of alpha e power minus k alpha square t e power minus I alpha x t alpha, which is equal to 1 over square root of 2 pi minus infinity to infinity integration f of alpha exponential function with the minus k alpha square t minus I alpha x t alpha. Since the integrand is in the product form here, so we can use the convolution here. Okay, we can use the convolution to make the integration simple. So the Fourier transform for g of x is k. If the Fourier transform of g of x is e power minus k alpha square t, because we have here minus k alpha square t. So if the Fourier transform for g of x is this, then g of x will be given by g of x equal to 1 over square root of 2 pi minus infinity to infinity e power minus k alpha square t e power minus I alpha x dx. Okay. For a greater than 0, if a greater than 0 and b is real or complex, and we know that integral minus infinity to infinity exponential function of minus ax square minus 2bx dx, which is equal to square root of pi by square root of a exponential function of b square by a. So if a is equal to kt and 2b equal to ix, then we can have g of x equal to 1 over square root of 2 pi square root of pi by square root of kt exponential function with the minus x square by 4 kt, which is equal to 1 over square root of 2 pi b exponential function with the minus x square by 4 kt. So using the convolution theorem, we have u of x comma t, which is equal to 1 over square root of 2 pi integral f of alpha g of x minus alpha d alpha. So we can have here u of x comma t equal to 1 over square root of 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity f of alpha 1 by square root of 2 kt exponential function with the minus x minus alpha the whole square by 4 kt d alpha. So which is equal to 1 by square root of 4 pi kt integral minus infinity to infinity f of alpha exponential of minus x minus alpha the whole square by 4 kt d alpha. So introducing the change of variables here for this x minus alpha minus x by square root of 4 kt. So we can have this as the solution. So u of x comma t, which is nothing but 1 over square root of pi integral minus infinity to infinity f of x plus square root of 4 kt z e power minus z square dz. So these are the references. Ronald N. Weiswell, the Fourier transform and its applications. So this is the textbook. You can see for reference. And Murari Stiegel, Charles Southend on Fourier analysis with applications to boundary value problems. Medha Hill, Shankar Rao, Introduction to PDEs. Let me stop with this. Sir? Babuji sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, shall I start with this?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And Sir has asked one thing that is about the online program.
You can.
Ah,
Sir,
yes,
HOD sir.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
you carry on, ma'am. Share, screen
yes, sir.
share. You can stop and you can talk, ma'am. No problem.
Yes, sir. So we have not yet started the online programs right now, but in future we may be starting the online programs, but we are attending the how to teach online programs, but we have not yet started the courses through online programs.
What about last semester, madam? Last semester,
Last semester, we have completed almost four and a half units, and for the remaining units, we have given lectures through Zoom and Google Meet, and we gave assignments for them,
okay.
um, and they submitted the assignment. That's it. But we have not handled the full course via online.
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing your view about Fourier transforms, and thank you for sharing your view about online classes. Now we have few questions, madam. Usually in electronics and communication engineering, Fourier transforms, Fourier series is mostly applied. They take a signal and they damp it, and they call everything as signal only. So if you convolute two functions, it is like damping two signals actually.
Yes, sir.
Can you say any application of um, convolution theorem, particularly or physical meaning of convolution with respect to engineering, especially communication engineering,
Convolution.
convolution aspect, because it will be very useful to our faculty members when they teach next semester.
Yes, sir. So the convolution graphs and all I've shown you. Just a minute. So signals and systems, people are using the convolution theorem, but we have not gone through the applications oriented, the actual application, engineering application so far. But people are using the convolution theorem there.
Okay, madam. Okay, no problem, madam. And one more question, madam. Usually in every interview, students who take up interview in core company, circuit branch of students, and especially EC students and computer science students will be asked to say the difference between Fourier transform and Laplace transform. It's a general question expected anywhere. What is your notion about that, madam? So that our faculty members can throw some light to the students when they teach the next semester. In some textbooks it is there, in some textbooks it is not there. So some difference in Venkatraman book, I think they are given the difference between what is the difference between Laplace transform and Fourier transform, something like that. Can you throw some light on it?
Yes, sir. The kernel is different for both the transforms. For the Laplace transform, it is integral 0 to infinity e power minus st f of t dt, where e power minus st is the kernel. But for the Fourier transform, the kernel is different. Also, the Fourier transform we can have from minus infinity to infinity. That is the entire range we can. Entire domain we can take. But for Laplace transform, it is defined from 0 to infinity.
Physically, any application point of view or any physical significant point of view, any different is there? Both are using signals only, and both are continuous transforms only. Only the range is entire plane, means we go for Fourier transform, it is a half plane, then we go for Laplace transform. Apart from that, any other perspective is there to use a particular transform?
For the solving ODE, if the problem is coined in terms of ODE, then Laplace transform is it suits very well.
Okay, madam. Thank you for sharing your view about these two. Any other questions from the audience? Audience, please, whatever thing you have, you please ask the expert. Audience, any questions from the audience?
Sir, one question. Ma'am,
Please, please.
ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, that pictorial representations you have shown from for each that properties and some problems.
Yes, sir.
Those are all actually available in which book, ma'am? That Braslow?
Yes, sir. First book, first reference textbook.
Okay, ma'am.
That's
Okay.
well.
Because that is easy for us to understand. For students also, if we show that pictorial representation, they may easily understand what we are teaching. That's what nice. Thank you, ma'am.
Muller also very good for Fourier transforms, Fourier series.
Ronald Braswell, actually pictorial representation, sir. I am asking that pictorial representation we have to give. Sometimes
Second book also
Yes,
very
sir.
famous book for Fourier series.
It will be useful, more useful to understand for the students.
yes, sir. I am asking pictorial only. So Ronald Braswell has given pictorial everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. That's what I want to ask. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, in applications also, in solving problems also, our students find it difficult sometimes. It is only integration, and sometimes they do not know where to use convolution theorem, where to use Parseval's identity. Some important results are there, but how to make the students understand about whenever this is given, we have to use Parseval's identity. Whenever this is given, we have to use inversion formula, because in deductions many important results are there, and it is also used to ask in our university question papers for all the BTech students. Some of the students are trying to mug up and they reproduce. However we teach, they do not understand. So any easy methods you are following to your students, so that we can also follow for our own students, madam, especially deducing using Parseval's identity, deducing using inversion formula, reducing using convolution theorem. Any techniques you are adopting, madam?
What all the properties we have discussed so far, so we are teaching only those properties, but in identifying the functions, so which convolution theorem, it can be applied for the function or not. So the suitability of the theorem, Parseval's identity or convolution theorem, it is based on the function given to us, and we have to make them clear about the identification of the function and which can be used for that. So we have to tell them in that aspect.
Okay.
It is depending on the function.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Audience, please open your mouth. Share your thoughts about Fourier transform with the expert. No, even the question may not be meaningful. That and all, you don't bother. Whatever you feel, you please ask. Let it be interactive session. Audience, please come out with your doubts. Even the question may be meaningful or not meaningful, let us not bother. Please come out with your view, come out with your doubts. Audience, Professor GS, anything you want to say about this, Professor?
No, sir. Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, go ahead. No, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yaru?
Yeah, yeah. Good morning, ma'am.
Bagra sir, please.
Yeah, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Actually, what is the necessity to use either Laplace transform or Fourier transform?
To solve the differential equations, boundary value problems.
No, I am telling what is the need of transformation, either Fourier or Laplace transform. You are telling to solve the differential equation. We
For any
can.
boundary value problem, and there is few boundary value problems cannot be solved by the actual method what we are following for in PDEs, solution of PDEs. But
No, actually, what is the advantage of if we use transformation, either Fourier or Laplace?
if we use the transformation, then the solution procedure will be made simple. And for a few boundary value problems cannot be solved by the existing method. I mean, except apart from Fourier series or Laplace transform, Fourier transform or Laplace transform, which cannot be solved easily. So to make it easy, the solution procedure easy, we are going for Fourier transform and Laplace transform.
But all boundary value problem can be solved by using Laplace transform or Fourier transform.
Yes, not all. That is Fourier. If we apply Fourier transform, the function must be a periodic function. So it is depending on the problem. So particular problems can be solved by using Fourier transforms.
Okay.
Not all.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
And these concepts are coming in the random process, even especially for EC students. However, we teach them in third semester. When they come to fourth semester, again they seem to be blank, especially in for 15th unit or 4th unit in EC, that is random process. That is fully application of transforms only.
Yes, sir.
Only this notation is different. In mathematics, we use different notation. In EC, they use different notation. That is the only difference. But students cannot correlate those two, and they often find it difficult. R of tau, R of t minus tau.
That and all only notation they can stick on to any one notation which they had used already.
So once if they are very good in mathematics concepts, especially transforms, they can easily study their own engineering subjects. But nowadays, why students are not interested, we don't know. However, we try from our side, we are not getting good results, and sometimes they used to fail, and the engineering departments used to blame us for not getting placement. It's going on like that. However, we try, we are not able to be successful.
Yes, sir, that is true. But people are saying that, but we cannot do anything for that. They have to understand the concepts, and before start answering, they have to make clear the concepts. That is the only way to
make them understand it.
yes, sir.
And however, their own subjects somehow they are able to get through. Even the average student, below average students, they are able to get through their own subjects. But mathematics, they find it very difficult, somewhat.
Because they are treating that as an allied subject, supporting subject. It is not our main subject. They are concentrating more on their topic subject, but they are giving least importance to this mathematics. That is why.
And also they think that mathematics means only just problem solving, getting marks. That's all. It has got a lot of applications in their own area. That should they should realize first.
That's true, but when they go for the project level, then they will think about what are all the things our teachers discussed. So all are important to us. So they will understand only when they do the project. When they use the mathematics applications in their own problems, then only they will realize that. So that time they will say that, ma'am, this thing and that thing, but we are
Mohammed Bayad, you please put your mic, mute your mic. Mohammed Abid, mute your mic.
Ma'am.
Please.
Ma'am, actually, one madam has asked when we teach random in the chat box they have put we may teach probability and random process in the fourth semester students. Fourth semester students are not comfortable with the Fourier transform. Actually, she put it in chat box. That's what I am reading. Can you answer for this, ma'am?
For fourth semester.
Fourth semester probability and random process. The students are somewhat not comfortable with the Fourier transform and inverse Fourier transform when we deal with the cross correlation function and encounter such problems. That's what she was asking. Shall you answer for her? Because her mic is not working, she is mentioning.
Srinivasan, mute your mic. Srinivasan, mute your mic. Please, madam. Yes, madam.
I have thought that mathematics and all over with this first year alone. Hereafter, mathematics subjects will not come. Maybe they would have thought of like that. If when they see the mathematics subject in the fourth semester, they are finding it difficult because there is a break. Till second semester, second year, we have the mathematics subject. There is a break in the third year. That may be the reason for that. If they continuously study the math subject, then they may get some involvement. If they get a break from mathematics subject, then they may think it's difficult to understand.
Any questions from Mohammed Abid? Any questions? What about Srinivasan? Any questions? Would you like to ask? Any questions from any other faculty members? Adityan, any questions from your side? Adityan?
No, sir. Over.
Over. Any other faculty member would like to ask? Babaji, anything you want to ask from your side? Babaji?
No. Thank you, ma'am. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, then. If there are no questions, I thank Professor Kokilavani for spending her most valuable time with us and sharing her thoughts about Fourier transform and applications. You have thrown some light on Fourier transforms and application. Even though it is available in all textbooks, it is a kind of revision for our faculty members. It is a kind of exposure through online. On behalf of Department of Mathematics, I thank you, madam, for accepting our lecture and also sharing your most valuable time, madam. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Sir, D. Prakash has raised his hand.
What is any questions, D. Prakash?
Yes, thank you. We said thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay. Prakash want to ask me.
Okay.
Okay, leave, sir.
Okay, thank you, madam, for spending your most valuable time with us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Please, madam. Yes.
Okay, sir. I asked to stay back. The committee members of RDP will stay back for 10 minutes, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Who has to say? Govindarajan?
Sir,
Who has to stay back?
Sir, we
Sir,
have a committee. We have a committee for
Sir.
research development program that is starting from tomorrow, sir. We have a core committee.
Ah,
We formed a committee, and the committee members are requested to stay back, sir.
Godran sir.
I will leave
Ah,
there.
yes, sir.
Godran
Okay,
sir.
okay.
Sir,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Goindarajan, I can leave
Ah.
now.
Yes, sir. You can leave, sir. You can leave. You can leave.
Thank you.
HOD sir.
What about Babuji?
I made Shobana as a host. I'm leaving, sir. Actually, my internet band is low coming. Actually,
Okay, okay, okay.
I
you can
made
leave,
her
you can leave.
host. She can take care.
Yes, yes, yes.
Adityan sir.